I'm going to move to video.
Chair Maynard, we are live.
Thank you. Good morning. Today is Thursday, February 27th, 2025. This is a continuation of an adjudicatory hearing before the Massachusetts Gaming Commission relative to a request for a finding of durable suitability for Crown MA Gaming doing business as DraftKings, which currently holds a Category 3 mobile sports wagering operator license. All of the instructions I provided on December 18th, 2024, the first day of this hearing, remain in full effect. However, I will provide a brief refresher for the benefit of all parties. My name is Jordan Maynard. I'm the chair of the commission. I'm joined today by my colleagues, Commissioners Eileen O'Brien, Brad Hill, Nikisha Skinner, and Paul Broder. The entire commission will continue to preside over the hearing and decision of this matter. This hearing will continue to be conducted in accordance with 205 CMR 101.01, the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Sections 10 and 11, and 801 CMR 1.02, the Informal Fair Hearing Rules. This hearing is being conducted via remote collaboration technology. I would like to remind everyone of the process that will continue to govern this proceeding. First, an updated notice of hearing was provided to DraftKings in advance of today's hearing. An additional pre-hearing conference was also conducted for the benefit of the licensee. On the first day of the hearing, Deputy General Counsel Justin Stimpak provided an overview of the suitability standard being considered as part of these proceedings, and that is the same standard that we are considering today. I see that a number of lawyers are present here today on behalf of the parties. I will ask that each of you please identify yourself and advise the commission as to whom you represent. Let's start with the licensee.
Tony Starr for DraftKings, along with Caitlin Hill for DraftKings.
Thank you. IEB.
Good morning, Chair Maynard. Zach Mercer for the IEB. Along with me today are Chief Enforcement Counsel Kathleen Kramer and IEB Director Caitlin Monahan.
Thank you. At the conclusion of my opening comments, this proceeding will continue where we left off in December with an updated presentation by the IEB and RSM. I would like to remind my colleagues that any commissioner may ask any question of anyone presenting information at any point during or following the presentation. At the conclusion of the IEB's presentation, the licensee through counsel will be afforded an opportunity to ask questions of any individual who presented information on behalf of the IEB as well. At the conclusion of the IEB's presentation, the licensee will be given the same opportunity to make a presentation. They may call any witness and present any evidence they desire. As before, any commissioner may ask any question of any presenter at any time during or after the presentation. DraftKings may raise any objections it desires at any time. However, the basis for all objections must be clearly stated. After the licensee's presentation, the commission will address each topic area from the notice of hearing in turn, and each commissioner will have a full opportunity to ask questions of any witness concerning those topic areas before we move on. Finally, at the conclusion of the presentations of all the evidence, the licensee will be provided an opportunity to make a closing remarks, summing up its view on suitability. Before we begin, I understand there are pre-marked exhibits that have been prepared in advance of this hearing. The commission will take official notice of the first 8 exhibits that were previously marked and introduced into evidence in December. An additional 6 exhibits have been added to the exhibit list, and they are as follows. Number 9, updated hearing notice for February 27, 2025. Number 10, RSM updated report. Number 11, February 4th, 2025, mints letter to IEB with exhibits 1 through 20. February 12th, number 12, February 12th, 2025, mints letter to IEB with exhibit 1. Number 13, February 12th, 2025, mints letter to Attorney Stimpak. And number 14, February 21st, 2025, mints letter to Attorney Stimpak with enclosure. Are there any objections to exhibit 9 through 14 being marked and entered into evidence from either party?
None from the IEB.
Thank you.
No objection from DraftKings to the exhibits.
Thank you both. These exhibits shall be admitted. I ask that everyone, when possible, please refer to the aforementioned exhibits by exhibit number when referring to any of these documents. If any party would like to have any additional documents entered into evidence during the course of the hearing, I would ask that they be properly introduced and marked. As explained, the Commission anticipates that this inquiry at this proceeding will be related to the matters addressed in the updated notice of hearing relative to the licensee's durable finding of suitability and those additional matters raised and communicated to counsel for DraftKings, both during and after the first hearing date in December. In the event that a line of questioning conducted by the Commission moves into an area that's not been included in the report or notice, but that is material to the final determination of this matter, any party may request a recess in the proceeding in order to review. The Commission will deliberate privately and make a final decision at the conclusion of the evidentiary portion of the hearing. The decision will be issued as promptly as possible. If at any point during the Commission's deliberations it determines that further testimonial or documentary evidence is desirable, it reserves the right to ask the appropriate party to provide such evidence prior to a final decision being made. We will now swear all the witnesses in. Counsel, are all the individuals you anticipate presenting testimony in this matter present on this call? Mr. Starr, you can go.
I apologize. I was waiting for Attorney Mercer.
Okay.
To
Yes.
respond. Yes, for DraftKings, with one exception. Mr. Lieberman is in Tel Aviv and should be joining somewhere between 10:30 Eastern time and about 10 of 11 Eastern time. So in about 20 to 30 minutes. And I will let you know when he joins. And if we come to that part of the proceeding and Mr. Lieberman is offering testimony, could we swear him at that point? But the balance are all here, Chairman.
Mr. Starr, that is exactly the plan.
Thank you.
We'll swear in any witnesses that aren't being sworn in right now. Just alert me, please, and remind me.
I will.
All right. Anyone who will be testifying at the proceeding and you're here now, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will provide before the Commission at this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes. All right. For the record, everyone has answered in the affirmative. A proceeding of this nature necessarily requires the consideration of a wide variety of information that takes several forms. In this case, some of the information and documentation may include commercially sensitive information. The public discussion of such information may place an entity at a competitive disadvantage if such information were to be publicly discussed. For the Commission to be able to execute its legal obligations effectively and diligently prior to making a final finding, it must be at liberty to fully inquire relative to any of these sensitive matters without compromising the individuals or entities involved. To do otherwise would be at a minimum unfair and potentially unlawful. Accordingly, my colleagues and I may elect to exercise the discretion afforded in accordance with 205 CMR 101.01, paragraph 7, to close this proceeding to the public to fully address certain matters. Under the same regulatory section, DraftKings may request that portions of this hearing be closed to the public, as well as any such request will be considered in turn. All right, before we begin, it is my understanding that an additional pre-hearing conference was conducted in this matter on Monday, February 24th, 2025, with representatives of the licensee, the IEB, and legal counsel, at which procedural and evidentiary issues were discussed. Does anyone have any preliminary issues or objections they would like to raise?
None from the IEB.
Not from DraftKings.
Thank you. With that, I believe we will turn this over to counsel for the IEB to continue their presentation. Counsel
Thank you.
Murphy.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. As detailed by Chair Maynard, we're here to continue an adjudicatory hearing pertaining to the durable suitability of temporary Category 3 sports wagering operator, Crown MA Gaming LLC, doing business as DraftKings. As the Commission is aware, this hearing began on December 18th, 2024, where the IAB presented the findings of its investigation for durable suitability. Once again, present with me are Chief Enforcement Counsel Kramer, IAB Director Monahan, members of the investigatory team, including members of the GEU, and Financial Investigations Division Chief Monica Chang. Also present are contract investigators from the firm RSM. On the last hearing date, the Commission made a request for additional submissions by DraftKings and then a subsequent review of those submissions by the investigators. In the time since the initial hearing date, the investigatory team has had multiple meetings and correspondence with DraftKings and counsel. Additionally, DraftKings has provided a number of supplemental documents. The investigatory team conducted a further review based upon those submissions and the conversations with DraftKings personnel. The results of that review can be found in the report that has been submitted to the Commission and marked as Exhibit 10 in your packet. For the purposes of today's presentation, members of the RSM team will present an overview of their findings as detailed in that report, and the full investigatory team will be available for any questions the Commissioners may have. At the conclusion of this presentation, you will hear that the IAB's ultimate recommendation has not changed, with the exception of one proposed condition, which has been rendered moot by the further review. Before we turn to RSM's presentation, my understanding is that DraftKings, through counsel, will request that this information be presented in a private session. My understanding is that some additional information provided by DraftKings, directly responsive to the Commission's request, will also likely be subject to that request. I will note, for the sake of efficiency, that the IAB intends on resting following the conclusion of the RSM presentation and any questions from the Commission. But with the permission of the Commission, I would turn it over to Mr. Starr for his request.
Thank you, Attorney Mercer. Mr. Chairman, as Attorney Mercer indicates, we indicated in our pre-hearing conference with counsel for the MGC, as well as Attorney Mercer, that we would request that the presentation of the updated RSM report, as well as any questions from the Commission on them, be conducted in private session. For efficiency, I would also like to note that Commissioner O'Brien had asked that we provide additional information on several matters, including the Wisconsin sales tax audit, the Chicago amusement tax audit, and the Christopher Leong litigation matter. We did provide additional information in a document, and to the extent that there are additional questions beyond what's in our exhibit letter, I would ask that those questions also be conducted in the private session.
All right, Commissioners, questions for either Councilor Mercer or Mr. Starr?
So, Mr. Chair, I had one other thing I might want to talk about, and I want to bring it up now because I think for expediency's sake, it makes sense to do it in private session, to just get an update on litigation that was filed in New Jersey relating to their VIP program. It was filed in December. My memory is we did not talk about that at the time. If we're going to be going in private session, that would be the appropriate place to hear about it.
Do either of the parties have any objection to having that conversation also in private session?
None from the IAB.
Thank you.
From DraftKings, we would request any questions about pending litigation, such as Commissioner O'Brien just referenced, be handled in private session.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right. So with that, anything else, Commissioners? Let me read some language into the record. Any adjudicatory hearing, this is 205 CMR 101.017. I just want to read it for the record. Any adjudicatory hearing conducted under 205 CMR 101.01 may be closed to the public at the request of either party or the Commission's own initiative. In this instance, we have both. In order to protect the privacy interests of either party or other individual, to protect proprietary or sensitive technical information, including but not limited to software, algorithms, trade secrets, or for any other good cause shown, Such a determination rests in the sole discretion of the Commission. So it sounds like we're all in agreement. I'm getting yeses across the board. All right. I think we will continue this in private session. Thank you. All right, Connor, I think we can take that down. Let's take a quick look around here. Sure. All right. So we are returning into public session. We just finished a robust private session. I just got a message that RSM is coming back online, so we're going to allow for them to do that. But we just finished a robust private discussion. And where I'm going to turn is back to IEB, Councilor Mercer. Anything further, Councilor Mercer?
Thank you, Chair Maynard. At this point, the IAB would rest absent any additional questions from the commissioners.
Commissioners, any further questions for Councilor Mercer?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, the only thing to clarify is Attorney Mercer, my understanding is IB has not changed its recommendations in terms of the conditional suitability. Is that correct?
That is correct. As the commissioners probably have seen, one of those conditions would be rendered moot due to the update that was provided by RSM. But otherwise, the IAB's recommendation will remain the same.
Okay, thank you.
And I may ask for a recitation of those recommendations, Councilor Mercer, upon your closing.
I intend on doing so. Thank you, Chair.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Mr. Starr, do you have any questions for Mr. Mercer or any member of the IEB?
We do not.
Okay. We will then turn it to you, Councilor Starr, to proceed with any presentation you may have.
We're here to answer any additional questions that the commissioners have.
All right, commissioners. Do we have any questions from Mr. Starr or any presenters relative to the presentation by DraftKings, or are there any other individuals we would like to hear from? All right, I'm seeing none. We are now going to move into the topic areas as set forth in the hearing notice, if that's okay. Councilor Starr?
Yes.
Mercer, all right. With respect to the first bullet from the hearing notice, which states the durable suitability of DraftKings pursuant to 205 CMR 215.011, does any commissioner, one moment, does any commissioner have any questions for any witnesses present here today, generally with respect to the durable suitability of DraftKings pursuant to 205 CMR 215.011? All right. With respect to the second bullet from the hearing notice, which states the contents of the Investigation and Enforcement Bureau's suitability report, does any commissioner have any questions for any witnesses present here today regarding this topic? All right.
So
Now
actually, before you move on, Mr. Chair, I don't know if this is the right spot, but one question I did want to put to Attorney Mercer is there anything outstanding where you have not gotten compliance yet from DraftKings in terms of production? I know that RSM has moved forward substantially. Is there any other area?
For the representations made to me by RSM, I understand that everything that was sought to make these determinations was provided. There was nothing that was raised to me. This was obviously a staged process. When there were items that were missing, there were supplementary requests made. So from what RSM has detailed to us, I'm confident that those have been fulfilled.
Okay. And then any other areas outside the financial assessment? Everything is compliant in terms of our today's date?
As far as ongoing reporting obligations, et cetera, I'm not aware of anything at this point that's outstanding. If there were anything to change in that regard, obviously the commission would be updated.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner O'Brien. Before we move to closing remarks, I'd like to turn to my fellow commissioners one last time to make sure that there are no further topic areas that anyone would like to explore and that all of our questions have been answered. All right. We will now move to the closing remarks. Each of the parties will be afforded an opportunity to make a statement summing up their position, though they need not do so. We will start with Mr. Starr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jenna Gear, who I know you've all met before, has asked if she could make the closing statement on behalf of DraftKings.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for the opportunity to present today on DraftKings request for a finding of durable suitability for the Category 3 sports wagering license. We acknowledge the hard work that the IEB, RSM, and the MGC has completed. DraftKings appreciates the conclusion of the IEB that DraftKings and the qualifiers have established by clear and convincing evidence that they are suitable for licensure under the criteria set forth in the Massachusetts sports wagering laws and regulations. DraftKings remains steadfast in our commitment to the highest standards of compliance, transparency, and integrity. We appreciate the Commission's insights throughout this process and the learnings that we've obtained through this. And we're dedicated to continuously enhancing our practices to ensure a safe, fair, and responsible gaming environment in Massachusetts. We have immense pride that we're a Massachusetts-based company. It's our home state. We started here from a small startup to where we are today. We couldn't be more proud to be here. And we thank you for your time and consideration and support throughout the process.
Thank you. Mr. Mercer, do you have any closing remarks?
Apologies for the mute. Just briefly, Mr. Chair, the IB does have a closing remark to make. In summary, as stated to the commissioners, taking into consideration the entirety of the investigation, the IB would reiterate its recommendation of a finding of durable suitability as made on the initial hearing date with conditions, save for the one condition that has been rendered moot following the supplemental review. The IB's conditions, as recommended previously, are that one, the individual qualifiers be found suitable on the condition that they provide updated fingerprints in the event, once the IB becomes authorized to review them, and that no derogatory information surfaces in such review. In the event that derogatory information is located, the IEP will alert the Commission for reevaluation of suitability. And in light of the concerns detailed in the IEB's report regarding the volume of DraftKings noncompliance in civil litigation matters, the IEB recommends that the Commission require DraftKings to provide an update to the Commission in 1 calendar year of a decision on durable suitability. That update should include the status of its civil litigation and regulatory discipline matters, and DraftKings plans to reduce their frequency. At that time, the IEB will provide an update as to DraftKings' ongoing cooperation with its obligations to the IEB as far as a duty to report, et cetera. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercer. Unless there are any further matters that the parties or my fellow commissioners would like to address, we will now conclude this portion of the proceeding. Does anyone have anything further? The Commission, I want to thank everyone for joining us first. We know that this was a long process, but we hope that you know why we're doing what we're doing. We want to make sure that the residents of Massachusetts are safe. We do thank you, DraftKings, for engaging with us in RSM to address the matters that came up in December. The Commission, with that, the Commission will now deliberate about this matter in private. Commissioners, we will have to end this virtual meeting and enter into a virtual room. I'm actually told that we are going to be moved over. Grace told me this morning.
Correct.
So
Yep.
do anything,
Commissioners can stay on this meeting link.
right? And that will conclude. We are now adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am moving you all over now.
Thank you, Connor.